Yeah, so far so good. I mean, we'll see.
Good evening and welcome to Norwalk City School District Board of Education regular meeting, October 7th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Burkett. Here. Mrs. Crawford.
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Norris. Mr. Rosenbauer.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Burkett.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Rosenbauer.
Yes.
Special presentation.
These are exciting times for the Norwalk City School District. I'm glad you are here this evening. We are going to see the entire team that this board has hired to work with our district and our community to get a brand new PK school. So if you have the agenda in front of you, you probably know that first group, that the first bullet point is our architect, Garmin Miller. They have been working with us pre-bond during the bond time and obviously the successful passage of that last November. So they are going to start, and then they will do the handoff to the other parties, our construction manager at risk, commissioning agent, and then our owner's rep. So the board is going to move out, and we'll be in the same position so they can focus their eyes that direction. And we want questions. We want you to ask, because today they're explaining like their role in this project. What do they actually do? At the end of this month, we'll hopefully have those things that we can show you. Actually, what's it going to look like on that property across the street? Some of those things are like, you're all like salivating, you want to see those things. We're all working on those things, so there's many steps to get to that point. So we're going to hear who they are, what they do, and so that's what tonight is. But by all means, you can ask questions. We don't want this to be quiet. We actually appreciate when questions are fired at us. All right? So thank you all.
They have, he's got the mouse.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to be here. I'm Eric Balso with Garmin Miller. Our role in the project is the design firm. So we were founded in 1993 as an architectural engineering, planning, and design firm. Our focus is on K-12. That's our main market we work in. We have 2 offices in Ohio, Minster and Columbus. And we have over, we're up to 140 people in our company now. So some of the key people on your project are shown here. With me tonight is Laura Little, who is the project manager. Laura is the point person, the day-to-day manager of the project. We have Becky Warner, who leads our educational visioning and helps in the planning side. Also some key people, Katie Yinger is the lead architect, Kelly Mesher, lead site designer. We made them stay back to keep working on your project. So the executive team sees them quite often. We also have Monica Brual, who a lot of you saw through the planning process. That's really her focus, but then she continues on just to make sure there's that continuity of what's been planned with the design. Brian Wolf is also on the design team working hand in hand with Katie. And we have Luke Walker, who you'll see a lot more of once we start moving dirt and get construction rolling. He's going to be our on-site construction representative. But in addition to those people, we have a lot more people involved because we provide all these services. We also have mechanical, electrical engineers. We have technology designers, civil survey, So all those design pieces we have in-house at Brown and Miller that are working on the project and design. Just a couple things that we take a lot of pride in, that we strive to separate ourselves from other companies. It's the service we provide, just one above and beyond for our clients, providing exceptional service. And then we take a lot of pride in the quality that we produce, really keeping an eye on the details and the coordination and making sure we're being good stewards of the budget we're working with, and that we're making sure the design is of the quality that your community would expect.
We wanted to show you a couple of project examples that we have, and we're using these project examples and showing you as well as we start going through this program. So at Elida, they have this very large, wide entrance, really allowing need a wide entrance for the number of students who are going to be in this building, but also a nice showcasing refreshment for the building. We've had a lot of conversations with your staff about a media center. Where does that go in the building? How do we support all of your age groups? Southwest Living, the learning commons area, having a nice space where all of the students can come out of their classrooms and have areas where we can work together in different groups. We've also talked about a lot about the exterior. With the building, the new building right across the street from the high school, you're going to have this campus area. And how can we have the new building honor the similar appearance to the high school and have more of a campus-wide feel? Salina has really nice rugs on board, and we have also want to have in the building. This is another example of a learning commons area, also trying to get some natural daylight. We've been having a lot of conversations about lockers and how your students access those and where they live with it. At Shelby, they have a really nice history wall, and that's something that we discussed with you as well. How do you show off that school pride and where you get? And then we also have been talking about exterior learning areas and where those can be located, how the classrooms can access those. And what's in it?
I'm going to go through a few slides just to explain where we've been. Those are pictures of our past work, but wanted to talk about what we've done so far with the Norwalk team to get your input and see how your building and your projects take shape. And we would call that our visioning process. It's just a timeline showing what we've been doing over the past handful of months. A number of touch points with the key design advisory team, with the building administrators, the district administrators, board members, community members, and a lot of teaching staff to really give us a good idea of what the future building and site can look like. We've teamed up with Fielding International, who are a leading firm in education design. They have a lot of work around the world and in the United States, just kind of what are the trends and how do you implement really good innovative design to be future-ready schools. Our first work session, as you can see your team in action, and some of you might see yourselves in these photos. I'm sorry, they're from the cell phone. Was just to talk through some of the leading design principles. We talked a lot about what the future of education looks like and how you have a big opportunity to make an impact for decades on your school district. So really got a good feel for what should be prioritized for the design and what should be those guiding benchmarks that we need to keep in mind as we move forward. Another work session that we had started to get into design patterns and bubble diagrams for what are those key adjacencies, what are those key spaces, how can we activate the learning environment, and how does it start to take shape to really best serve your staff and your students. And then we started taking what we talked about in those first two workshops, and we visited 5 different buildings, took some road trips. I know you guys were on the bus for a little bit of those, but went to see some different design concepts in action, and I think took away some really valuable lessons of what was good and some things that were bad and we didn't want to see. And that's a great learning curve for our team to understand kind of how to best design for your team. And now we're in the phase where we're getting into preliminary designs and programming. So along the way, we're also talking about programming at the building, trying to figure out exactly how many spaces, what are the spaces, what's the lab, what's the classroom, what's the learning commons, how are they adjacent to each other. We have a master list of all those types of spaces and what we need to see in them. We start to talk about key adjacencies, and then we'll start putting these very basic diagrams onto the site plan. We start to start putting all the puzzle pieces together as the building takes shape, and that's the phase we're in right now. I think there might be a couple others, so they start to look a little less blob-like, a little more floor plan-like, and we're starting to develop that and work with the executive team to shape that a little bit more and make sure it's heading in the direction that we need it to.
So I know one of the questions is, what can we expect? What's the timeline? So this is very high level. There's a ton of meetings happening behind the scenes that the school can attest to. We're occupying a lot of their time, but there's a lot you can imagine with the building of this size to coordinate. So on a high level, like Becky said, we're working through a preliminary design to get to ultimately by the beginning of the year, we should have a floor plan, a site plan. And really from there, that's when our team dives into all those details I talked about. And that's going to take months to get into all those details, develop those construction documents that the contractor will use to build off of. We anticipate by the end of summer that there'll be some site work happening. And ultimately what we're working towards is having the building ready for the 2029 school year.
So we're CT Taylor, we're the construction manager. We kind of sit along and ride along right now through the design phase, offer our input. And the input that we offer is who we are, is we're a school builder, Northern Ohio. You'll see a chart here. So we have plenty of experience in building schools, almost 4 million square feet, over $1 billion. We'll work together with the team to make sure that we get the right contractor fit here, the right group of contractors building a high quality building that you're going to have for years and years and years to come.
So my name's Ian. I'll be the project manager throughout this entire project. Kind of see how we're laid out organizationally here, from our construction side, staff back at our office, and then kind of what we provide here through pre-construction as well. I think the main item here is, I'll be the main point of contact for it, with lots of support around this from several different team members. We have one project engineer working with us, a technical lead, through documents and processing, make sure we're coordinating. And then Dan here will be leading the charge every day out in the field, managing those subcontractors out in the field throughout the entire project. We'll start looking at logistical planning for the job site as we work through construction, start thinking how we're going to access the site, making sure that we're safely accessing it, especially with the school across the street here, making sure we take all that into consideration as we start to develop those plans further as we get closer to construction.
And just to take one step back, my name is Matt Collier. I'm the CEO of CT Taylor. I'll be like in an executive role working with these folks. Ian Pichetti, project manager, and Dan Nichols, the site superintendent. These are the two folks that you're going to see predominantly on this site as your, traffic cops controlling the work and the quality of the project that moves along. So we talked about, the contractors we work with, so that we go through a very rigorous process to figure out who the right fit for every project is. There's a lot of factors that go into making sure that we've got the right fit for this particular project. We look at the work they've done, their safety record, their quality on other projects, what other work that they have in hand, local, where are they located in the state, where does the workforce come from? So these are all things that go into this process. Again, it's collaborative, it's with ourselves. The OFCC is a co-owner to the district here with the school district also and the architects to make sure that we have the right fit for contractors to build a building, again, that we can't reiterate enough, that Norwalk is going to be proud of past our lifetime and into all of our children's lifetimes.
So I'll be your guy on the ground. I'm Dan Nichols, I'll be your superintendent. I'll coordinate everything with the local departments, fire, building, street, city, county, and the schools. Your guys' schedule is important to me on how I run this job. As far as egress during your busiest time. When your buses are coming and delivering here, we'll hold off on what we do across the street. Safety is absolute with me. So is your quality. If you probably never find me in a trailer if you come look for me. I'll be walking the job, working all the details out with all the subcontractors and everybody that I have to take care of.
You know, and part of the process too, we want to make sure as we work through this is how we communicate back to the Norwalk folks. You know, we're going to work with the project team here that we're working with to make sure that we've got the right fit. Some things we've done on, you know, we've done articles in newspapers, we've done social media blasts, we come to board meetings and talk about where we are scheduled, where we are budget, what interesting things are going to happen. We like to do webcams. You'll see a webcam on another project that's rolling through right there. A couple important things we'll do is community meetings. We'll have, just like this, and we're in an introduction meeting that we're having now, but we'll also do at various points in the process, so set the expectations on what you people can see, you expect to see, and when you can expect to see it, and what things look like. Try to head off this question and answer that are going to happen tonight. Kind of get that rolling through this process again to help you guys understand, take ownership of the project as we roll through it. Another thing we like to do with that too is we talked about those contractors. We invite the local contracting community and truthfully all of the contractors that we'll have a meeting with those folks too. Give them the timeframes on the project, what the scopes look like, what the bid package looks like. Again, all things that we're going to do to make sure that we have the right fit of contractors from the scale to the timing and everything, make sure we've got a good fit. So like Dan said, that we've got a safe and quality project that we're turning over.
My name is Matt Guggenbuller. I am with State Engineers, and we are the commissioning agent for this project. Just a brief history about us. We're located in Dayton, Ohio. We were formed in 1981. And we've been doing commissioning since that time. Since 2005, we've been involved with the OFCC. And since then, we've been involved or had the opportunity to be involved with over 140 different school districts with doing over 355 K-12 buildings where we provide commissioning services. We're not limited to just the K-12 market. We also do work with the higher education, medical healthcare field, government, and commercial. With our experience, we've seen about every system out there. We've seen what works, we've seen what doesn't work, and we're able to help the design team as they go through the design process and just give them, like, hey, we see this system, this is the problems that we've seen with it, and help them do that. So you may ask yourself, what is commissioning? Garmin Miller designs it, and C.T. Taylor builds it. What in the world do you do? Well, commissioning is a quality assurance process that verifies the building systems are designed, installed, tested, and documented to meet the owner requirements as intended. It's an ongoing process, and we start from day one. We've already started. We've had the opportunity to sit down with Brad and some other members of your staff and get an understanding of what your needs are when it comes to plumbing, mechanical, electrical systems along the building envelope. As Garmin Miller goes through their design, we're going to do reviews of their designs at the different base missions to make sure that your wants and needs are being met in that design. And if they're not, we're going to bring it up to them. Like, hey, why are you not doing something specific that they want? We're also going to look during them designs at any issues that may cause potential operational problems or maintainability issues, and bring those up to these guys during the design review. Then when we move into the construction phase of the project, we're going to be making regular site visits, making sure that one, the design or the installation meets the design. We don't want to have a situation where, let's say, they go in and they run a duct, and that duct has 5 or 6 more vents than the design showed. That creates pressure, that creates a system operational issue. So we're going to look for those things that may cause system operational issues or maintainability issues. We're not putting a VAV box or a mechanical exhaust fan 20 foot above the ceiling where it's not gonna be able to be maintained. We're gonna try to identify those issues and work with these guys to remedy that before it's too late. Then we're also gonna be monitoring pre-functional testing. So the contractors are required to test certain things. They are required to do duct pressure testing to make sure that that ductwork doesn't leak. They need to test the piping to make sure it doesn't leak. They need to flush out their hydronic systems from dirt, because if you have a dirty system, that is a big performance issue. So we're gonna make sure that all that testing is properly done and witness it. And then also equipment startup, HVAC equipment, plumbing equipment, electrical generator. We're gonna make sure that that is properly started by factory technicians and checked out. And then from that point on, you're getting towards the end of the project. You guys are seeing a building that's pretty much done. What we're gonna do then is we get into our meat and potatoes of what we do, and that is functional testing. We start off with the building envelope. We're going to do thermal imaging of the envelope that's going to identify air leakage or also moisture penetration. And then also water infiltration. We're going to spray different areas of the building facade and check for water leaks to make sure the vapor barrier is properly installed. We're going to test all the plumbing equipment to make sure we're getting adequate hot water delivery throughout the building. Water pressure, gas pressure is all properly done, so you're getting hot water. HVAC controls, we're going to test all the HVAC components. Every temperature sensor, every damper, every piece of equipment to make sure that it's functioning properly. And then the temperature controls, which is what controls all the HVAC equipment, to make sure that that is communicating, operating efficiently. On the electrical side, we're going to test lighting controls, every room, make sure that the lighting controls are properly working, make sure our lighting levels meet the OSDM requirements. You know, we don't want a space that's too dim or too bright. And then also electrical power distribution, just making sure that breakers are properly sized, our wiring is properly sized. If you have an undersized wire, that can lead to a fire hazard. So making sure that all of that is properly designed and properly designed and installed. And then at the end, we're going to ensure that you guys, the owner, are properly trained on everything that goes in this building. We don't want to just hand a building over and you can keep and say, here you go. We're going to properly train you, and we're going to make sure that these guys provide that proper training. And we, as the commissioning agents, are going to develop a maintenance plan. And that maintenance plan has all kinds of different features that will help you be able to operate this building from day one moving forward. So really, the commissioning agent, our goal is one, we want to make it work. When we hand this building, we want this to be a seamless handoff. We do not want to give you guys a building that is not working or has issues. We want to eliminate hidden defects. We want to minimize operating costs by maximizing efficiency. And then minimize occupant complaints. If you guys move in and you've got temperature complaints, occupant complaints, it's not going to look good. We want to eliminate that. And then finally, increase your maintenance staff knowledge. So when we hand this building over, you guys can maintain this building.
All right. So good evening. I'm Steve Strigalis, and I am from Westwood Consulting Group, and I'm the owner's rep for the project. And this is some pretty serious stuff that we've been talking about here. The owner's rep job is primarily to make sure that the group also has a lot of fun while we're doing this. So, but what I want you to do is imagine for a moment that you have been invited to participate in a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, right? And the other team has 3 players that are all-stars. And you want to be successful in this tournament, so you've got 2 all-stars on your team. But the 3rd player is an outstanding school superintendent, but he's never played basketball in his life. He's the 3rd player on the team. Imagine the impact that that's going to have on your team. Probably not going to be real good. They're not going to be able to coordinate well. They're not going to be able to play really well as a team. and they're probably not going to be as successful as they really want to be, right? The construction projects are the same way. There are three key players, and you've met them: the architect, the construction manager, and the owner. Then we have a bench player in the commission. And it is critically important for the success of the project that those players are able to do and play their roles effectively. A project will be successful only to the extent that they are able to do that and do it well, right? And you have an all-star architect in Garmin Miller. You have an all-star player in C.T. Taylor. But what about your district, your superintendent, your board, your treasurer, your administrator? They've never played a basketball game, ever. They've never been involved in doing the owner's role in a major construction project. That's where the owner's rep comes in, right? I have 40 years of experience working with all kinds of school districts, helping them play the role that the owner has to play. It's mostly decision-making, but there's a lot of more to it than just that. The owner has a key role in the success of the project. And so I can be there to help guide, support the owner as they work their role with the other team, and we can have a successful team. We do that because that will be the best way to avoid problems, issues, and it's most likely to result in a successful project that's going to get us where we want to go. All right. So I am appreciative and grateful for the opportunity to be here working in the Norwalk City Schools, to have the opportunity to do the kind of work that I love to do. So thank you. We are available here to, as Brad said, to take your questions. Happy to answer whatever we can.
So the last person the group that's not here is the state, Ohio Facility Construction Commission. So they're not allowed to be here where there's more than 2 board members. So Helena Gonzalez is our primary person through the OFCC, and she is top shelf. So the people have done multiple projects. Sometimes, like, you can have a great name, you can have a great outfit, the company name can be great. All that matters is who's on our project, who comes to us. And so the people that know her, we got the right person in Helena Gonzalez, who we're working with every day. And they are correct. We're having 1 to 2 meetings a week that we're seeing these same faces around the table. So if you'll go next door to the art gallery, we have set up for tomorrow's meeting, which is a design meeting of 35 people. The admin team, this group, and others, we're making decisions. We're getting consultants in to look at what's the kitchen design, what's that cafeteria space look like. So each of these kind of niche areas within a building, there's specially people that are working with us to what that ultimately design should look like. So now is your time. Fire questions. We have the builders, we have the architects. I'm glad you explained what commission agent, because at the beginning, like, what's a commission agent? So that was second slide. So we got to that, to what does that person do? But ask your questions now. Now's the time. We stunned them into silence.
Yeah, we did.
So part of this team is responsible for determining the soil stabilization in the area where the construction is to take place.
Well, I would say it's a collaborative process. So under our contract, we're getting soil borings to a consultant. And those soil borings will review, will work hand in hand with the construction team to evaluate, the stability. And if we do need to do any kind of remediation, we work together on a solution that's going to be most effective for schedule and budget.
Is that process begun?
That has not begun because we would like to figure out exactly where the building fits on the site, so that we're taking those samples right where the building is. We'll also take a few pavement areas, but until we get that solidified, we want to make sure we're taking effective locations. So that should be happening in the next couple of months.
So this group clearly has heard from the beginning of time of those that were on this high school project and the ground and the soil that we're looking at. So we understand we actually have some contingency. We have some money set aside for that purpose. knowing what level, what degree of ground stabilization will we have to do. It'll be great if we have to do none, but we expect there will be some, but it's critical that we have that exact location. So once we get that building points in order, then that'll be critical of where it's gonna be. Because clearly they addressed the testing standpoint, even soil boring, that they've done it, and you've had fail points between, if you're going every 100 yards or 100 feet, what's happening between that. Sometimes you have to have more specific information than just the broad points. Yes?
Is there any thought to what kind of security systems will be in this new building?
Absolutely. Obviously, they've done build, so you're doing a lot more with the perimeter security. We're actually looking at right now, because clearly we're gonna have a lot of kids outside spaces. What do those playgrounds look like? Because you have different age groups. So you might have a PKK level equipment. You might have that intermediate age equipment. You have a lot of kids outside. What does that look like? Maybe using your building design, which is being worked on right now. And how is that where that, it might be a fence on around the outside of that, but you have kind of points where you're controlling who can get to your facility. Obviously, interior design and security, you have a lot of hallways, complete lockdown. So you get a call, you can lock a complete area down, and you can mobilize it essentially where like nobody can get to that zone. So we have a lot of, we've done actually a lot with our older buildings. Like we have so many layers right now that we've done with our old that I'm like happy to talk about security that we currently have now, but they can go into more details on what they're seeing right now relative to security in new builds. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so of course, there's access control, controlling doors, there's camera systems. As Brad talked about, there's strategies with having doors positioned to be able to lock down certain areas. There's some different things with window film and those sort of things for reinforcement. So all those options will be working with the school, working with SRO and the security team to figure out what's the best fit for your district.
We will definitely have a visual that someone will see visually all people coming into a main entrance. So if you look at the newest schools built, they all have some sort of sally port, double locked areas before you get access to the building. So you look at how this building, like this is a beautiful building. Talking about a building that's been designed to stand the test of time. You know, kids moved in 2001, still looks beautiful. This will look beautiful in 2050. We want the exterior to look the same, but what is different, you're not going to have where you don't have visible, because when you see people come to Norwalk High School, what are you seeing? You're seeing someone on a camera. Likely you're going to have someone that has the visual besides cameras working on that. And when you come into a secured space, you'll have multiple access before you get buzzed in, because we're going to allow you where kids actually are. The simple fact of being one campus and having one SRO is going to be critical as well. You look at Mike Connie, who's done a fabulous job for us. Think about that, whether it's him, whether it's one additional person, that you're on this campus and you're not going to 6 different buildings. That alone is a critical, because nothing beats personnel, nothing beats great people. All the technology, that'll be a part of this build, but nothing beats great people for sure. Yes, Terry.
Yeah, Terry Bird from Rock Reflector. Do we have any breakdown in percentage of union labor versus non-union labor that will be used for the build? And on that same track, are there any incentives in the subcontracting contracts to hire union shops as opposed to non-union shops?
Second question, there are no incentives to send the work one direction or the other. I can't sit here and tell you the specific breakdown on, there will be a mix of both. Is how our history's been. You might have 80-20 one way, you might have 70-30 the other, 50-50. I mean, it's really across the board. It really truly is finding the right contractor with the right, that checks all the boxes. You know, what's his availability, what's his work history, what's his history of litigation, what's his safety record. These are all things we look at. Again, we want to make sure we've got the right team put together. Again, giving special consideration to local contractors as well. So these are all things we look at. We go through a pre-qualification list. We get the OFCC, the architects, us, the owner's rep. Everybody looks at the list and collaborates on and then when bids come in, that's the step one. We have the process, and part of this process, we're not forced to go with the low bidder. We have the ability, if there's a particular reason to go a different direction, we have that ability as a group to make those decisions if the budget permits.
So that I mean, are there incentives for you to hire union shops as opposed to non-union shops, or there's no incentive?
There are no incentives at this point.
So critical to understand, when we were interviewing and we brought 3 in for who's gonna be the construction manager at risk, CT Taylor, multiple reasons, but one of the reasons they rose to the top of the list is because they are able to hire union and non-union. Because honestly, I could care less whether you're union or non-union. I want the best work. I want the best projects done for our kids in our community. Do I care who's bought? I don't care. Personally, I don't care. I want the best. And if the best is union, great, get them here. If it's non-union, get them here. And I can tell you, all of you have friends that run businesses that you know contractors are like, we're the cradle of contractors. That's what Norwalk, you look at our city website, we talk about, we have so many that are willing and want to be part of this project. They have to have a shot at getting part of this project. It's not to say they're gonna land just because you live in Norwalk or outside or Huron County, but you're gonna have a shot at landing one of these jobs. If you have the capacity and you pass the test that CT Taylor needs to see that you have that ability to do the project, you're gonna get a shot. And I can tell you, people that came to me were very satisfied CT Taylor being hired because they know they have a shot. They have a shot at least to say, I would like to be part of this project. So that's significant play of why CT Taylor, they understand, what does Norwalk want? Yeah, we want to feed our very own. Most places should do that. You want to feed and take care of your locals, and we got plenty of locals that can do construction work, and we know that. All right, next questions. Yes.
I know there was talk during the levy about a traffic study. Is there a plan to look at that with all the congestion?
Yeah, for sure. Because I said, when I talked to our team, I said, we need to make this school that's great. We also make sure our traffic is done well. Because we want to do builds and brand new places that like, this is great, but still, this is still an issue. So even places that you think you planned, you've had traffic study, something doesn't work perfectly. That day one with kids, you're still out there and scrambling with multiple administrators and Mike Connie, we're going here because we're stopping, you like figuring those things out. So that process very much is happening because we're going to have 1,600 plus kids across the street from high school where you have a lot of kids that are mobile now. Because of College Credit Plus, you got kids coming and going all day. You don't have the number that was here when I was in high school or as principal here because kids stayed here. Now the kids like going to vocational school, College Credit Plus. High school kids are coming and going, but at any given time to say you're over 2,000 plus kids that are going to be hopping on a bus and or driving themselves and or getting picked up. So those things are happening. So I'll do the handoff as to when traffic study is going to be done, who's doing that, to look at those factors.
So the traffic study, it's under our contract with a consultant that has an expertise in that. We're working behind the scenes on that already, talking about different car counts and those sort of things. It's a process that will take some time to develop, but we are factoring in traffic patterns and trying to predict the best we can future patterns.
Because people talk, some hate it, some love it. Can we have a roundabout? Like, I love it, I hate it. Like, you get the whole mix of that. Are there going to be lights? We know coming around the county, there's the hill there. And if we're saying we're coming from high school, going across the street, is that too tight of a turn with the people coming around from where the sheriff's office is to cut through there? But obviously, we have the horseshoe that we call the horseshoe around the high school. We have our athletic entrance. We have that one. So we have like 4 points. So are those going to be direct points and then feed across to the other side? Or are there going to be other access, ingress, egress for that? So that has to be critical because I can tell you, if all the Pleasant and Mapleworth people that sit there and are like, this is a horrific setup and we don't change anything different there, they're going to be wondering, who was this team that screwed it up? And we'll all be looking at each other. No, we won't. We have to get it right. But here's one thing that we know. You're going to have to get people off Shady Lane. So I don't think everyone necessarily loves, and I always say like the Cedar Point turnstile, like you're having to stack cars because you have to get them off of Shady Lane. And what are they doing? You can do loop-de-doop-de back and forth, and then come up to the front of the school to get your kids. I know a lot of the new schools we've visited, they have awesome like technology. So they have the system in order where it's a camera and or it's a staff member that knows silver truck, Ralph Ritz-Color is coming up. Kids are all being lined up inside and its kids are being released right in that order. So like you have that whole flow where you say, I can get 200 kids departed from my building in 10, 15 minutes. Like those type of systems are pretty impressive to see. The key thing is keeping parents and keeping busing completely away from each other. Because I can tell you when we start at 2930 at the new school, this setup at the high school will not be the same because that's not a good setup. Right now we have buses going through this horseshoe and we have parents coming through that same zone. And I've been here as a principal, assistant principal too many times where I'm just darting out because I'm ready to go home, jumping into grandma's car. Buses are going by you. Like that cannot happen. Nobody in designing is going to ever do that again where buses and cars are together. Those will be separated here in the future at this site as well.
And we have to do a good job doing construction too, making sure that our deliveries, when steel deliveries come in black, that they're not at startup or pickup time or at lunchtime. So that's part of what Dan talked about, talking to the principal here in this building to make sure we understand the schedules here so that we can schedule our deliveries accordingly. So drop off here is at 8. We either want our deliveries done by 7:30 or we don't want to start them till 8:30. So that's part of what we do as well.
Okay, Keith Taylor, one of the best things I love about you is your community involvement. Can you talk to the community about what you told us when we were interviewing? What are you going to do to have students involved? What are you going to do to have community involved in this is going on? Some of the ideas that you told us, I'd love for everybody to hear.
Yeah, so some things so we'll start with the kids. Some things we got a pretty good opportunity here. You got a high school here, but you're going to have a building there that's going to have PK8 kids. So some things we've done. You do the ceremonial things. We've done beam signings where you get the kids out and put a beam on a trailer up and you let them sign and it becomes permanent in the building. We've painted rocks. The kids have painted rocks where you put those down before you pour the concrete for the slab on grade. We've done art contests where after the building is complete, go into which you guys got a very impressive art population here at this school, seeing some of the stuff that's in that gallery. You get into those and you say, all right, now in whatever medium you want, give us what you think of the building, whether it's a picture of a particular area or painting or photography. So we've done things like that. We've gone into classrooms. We've talked to kids about construction, little contests with how many blocks you think are in a building, how many miles of wire, those sort of things. Again, get them excited, get them involved. Again, they're the ultimate end user in this building. So those are some of the things we've done with the little kids. You've got UHOBI where you send your big kids. Get them over there, let them shadow us. Let them come out and hang out with Dan and Ian. The kids that want to get into the construction trades, we're all for that. Construction is kind of a dying trade. Nobody wants to kind of do that manual labor every day, but let them come out. The guys are interested in spend a day. We'll work through it, but maybe an intern, get a kid out there for a week or a couple of weeks at a time. Just seeing what goes into, there's a lot of stuff that goes into behind the scenes. So from that level, then it's communicating with the community. Again, it's through those meetings and it's having the contractors meetings and all those things. And whether it's social media blasts or, we've done ones that have, and I don't know particularly here, again, we'll work with you folks to figure out what works best. We've done where they have their own TV shows or so we've gone in and been interviewed on their TV show. So whatever those things look like that you guys and we all talk about, we think is the right fit to communicate and keep the community involved and keep the community informed, that's what we want to do and that's what we do.
It's kind of impressive to see their cameras they put on their school site to say like, this is like, year of planning, we're saying, in 3 years of build. So then moving into the building 2930, say there's a camera on that site that you can always see what's happening on Shady Lane. I live in Florida, I live in California, what's happening at my alma mater, you can pull that up. And that's kind of cool at the end because you can see like you can turn 4 years into about 15 minutes and you do blocks are being put up and all of a sudden you have a school and that's kind of impressive. So it's always like the eyes on the project because this is exciting. Like if you're not excited about this, then there's not much you get excited for. So some of the things that we're looking at, which we talk like grade configurations, if we're talking PK, we've got these are kind of overarching like big things that we've talked already. And that's going the PK2. So PK2 being a grade configuration, so that age group. And then you're going to have a 3-5, grade 3 through 5, and then a 6-8. So that's kind of a simplistic look at how we're doing. So yes, the building's being designed. We don't know how it's going to angle out, straight line, maybe linear in approach, but those are kind of the basic, which matches a lot of schools that have done. Some have been smaller, some are larger than us, but that's the grade configurations we're looking at. So when you look at entry points, we understand PK parents, they need quick and direct access. So that might be a standalone, a PK entrance, but that's going to be the age group they're with. We have Jen Gerber here as our curriculum and technology director. She understands with curriculum, a lot of things, that's tied to those age bands too. So I know right now we have a split with 2-3 at Pleasant. There's like, God, I hate to separate 2 and 3. If you look at curriculum where it is, these things make sense. So that's the age grouping that we're looking to do. Each of those age groupings are going to look different because obviously their development's different, what that's set up. So the fact that here's our kindergarten wing, that's not going to be, well, just replicate, that's the 8th grade wing as well. Understand each of these 3 different areas, they're going to have different looks. So when you walk into this building, whatever this design winds up being, you're going to say, God, that does not look like over there. That does not look like over here. This is a beautiful building. It's high school. You know that. This is the age group that you have. Here, PK through 8, there's massive differences. And that's going to be shown through the building design of the build itself. All right. I can keep talking, but I'd rather have questions. Yeah, Tom.
What's the timeline for rendering and then picking the general contractor and all those types of things? What's it looking like?
Or rendering?
Rendering and then just the general contractor.
So having a rendering won't be until springtime, because we have to work through all these details. But we mentioned earlier, we hope to have dirt moving by the end of summer. So it's kind of a general timeline. The building will be far enough along that you can visualize it 3D with materials and that, late spring and then dirt moving in the late summer.
Yeah, so we'll go through a couple of bidding phases to do all that. So, again, we want to move dirt summer next year. So in the spring, we'll bid a site package with site contractors to get them on board. And then as they develop through their drawings and finish their drawings to the building, we'll bid a building package in the fall of next year to start, your actual building structure and so forth at the very end of 26, start of 27. And then hoping to get some of that building under roof, and by the end of 27, get it all under roof in the fall of 28, allow you to finish your finishes, turn it over to the district at the end of May of 29. That gives them the whole summer to consolidate the other 5 buildings into this building, get moved in, and then we'll move into demolition and abatement of those other 5 buildings in summer of 29 into the fall of 29, potentially even into the spring of 30.
One thing that's outside of the school itself, so we were looking at where's central office, because we 3, 4, we need to be close to the kids because we're inefficient right now. We're our own spot plus 6 other buildings, so we need to be with our kids. So is that here? Is that across the street? So this determination has been made. So the media center here at Norwalk High School is large. It was built. It was beautiful. That's what you did at that time. I can tell you, anybody who's an educator that's worked at Norwalk High School, like that space is not used wisely. A lot of people that are turning libraries, because their literacy is important, we're still going to have books. Don't misread what I'm saying here. Those spaces will still be here, but the media center is so large, we're looking for that to be our central office. So there are some rooms that exist there in the back, if you know that space well, and some other places like we want large conference rooms. We need a smaller conference room and a larger one. You can give us small offices. Nobody's concerned about that, but that's critical that we have meeting areas. So that's what we're looking at right now as the plan, because when you look at how much is happening at this PK school, how many entrances, doors, and all those things, like we're kind of one more feature that doesn't need to be part of that, because we're going to have a competitive gym across the way. It's a middle school gym. So it's going to be a nice hardwood floor, competitive gym. You're going to have an elementary gym there as well. You're going to have 2 gyms across the street. You have access points for athletics coming in. You got your main entrance. So we didn't want to be one other central office sitting on the side. So we looked at both properties, where could we fit in, and that makes sense. Talking to the high school admin team, talking to where does the media center go here. We have good options here that we can maintain, but that space in the media center right now, it's too large for how it's currently used. So if you're questioning me, go talk to anybody that works in this facility and they'll explain it to you. So like I said, not a slight on anything with literacy, because that will still exist. But central office could be there, that'll bring us to this space, and how great is that all of us, once we park our cars, we literally are walking across the street to serve everybody in our district, PK through 12. Makes a lot of sense. More questions, please, yes.
What's to be known of the existing buildings that are currently used?
So you are helping me with that answer. So what has been said in the past, me in many public meetings, has been, we see Pleasant staying up in its form. Middle school, some version of that. The other schools, abate and demolish is what we're looking at right now. Currently, and I know there's people in this room that sickens you, whatever your thoughts on that, right now, we have an arrangement to secure the land across the street, that Main Street will be Huron County property. Once our kids are moved over, that'll be abate, demolished, and that will be the Huron County Commissioner's property. So you probably, obviously, I know you're saying up on things, you know that part. So that's that part right now with the arrangement that's in place, that's spoken for. The other areas, we're looking to abate, demolish, and then obviously sell. And there's value in those properties. You can say, you know the place as well, Maplehurst, is that a developer? We have 3 or 4 local developers that might say that's enticing. They would give good money that could be used, and that's going to go back to the district or potentially help with the tax burden, depending what decisions made then. So that's the thinking right now. Middle school, we obviously have a great gym. We're looking right now potentially abate, demolish. So when I was there, I got hired in 2002. It was 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. So essentially, 6th and 7th grade wings could be abate, demolished. And then we're the top of the ramp. You have the foyer, the cafeteria, the gym, the back hallways, and that surface. That's right now telling you that's the thought right now. These all could change because we're 4.5, 5 years out. If there's great ideas that come that are presented to a board member, to a community member, you bring it forward, we're open for that, clearly. But that's the thought right now. All right, more questions, please.
Will you do the studying the construction manager model and how it's different than what used to be done when this building was built?
Yeah, so in the old days, they had what they called a CM agent. So they hired, which was like an owner's rep, kind of us, to manage the project. And then you bid the project in individual prime packages. So that was the old, if you had the ability to bond a job and you were the low bidder, you were getting the job, regardless of what else was going on in the construction world. Nowadays, that's how the main difference is from the construction manager risk. So we hold all the construction contracts under our umbrella now. We're responsible for hiring all the people, bidding the people, vetting the people, making sure that we put that good team together. So in the process on a building like this, for instance, we'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 bid packages. So you'll have a site contractor, you'll have a mason, an electrician, an HVAC contractor, a plumber, a sprinkler, and you'll have a general trades contractor. Jeff, what you're calling a general contractor within those big packages that will handle some of the ancillary stuff, marker boards, tack boards, doors, hardware, those sort of things. But again, not knowing exactly what the final building looks like and the final scope will look like. Once we see the drawings further involved, we'll figure out how many packages go into the building. And then we go out and we bid those packages to the public by invite only and make recommendation based upon the bids that we do receive, who again, with all the criteria considered, who's the right fit to build that particular package for this building.
And just to add to that, so the construction manager does not act like a general contractor in the old days where they would have subcontractors bid to them, and then the only thing you would see is the general contractor's total number. You couldn't see those sub bids. Now, with this process, the owner, we can see all those bids. We get to see, it's we call open book bidding. We can see and sit down with them and see all those numbers, how the bids were, who bid, And we actually review and go through all those bids with them when those come in.
Along with that, and you said, I just want to reiterate, so you don't necessarily take the bottom bid, because sometimes,
We don't have.
like, we want to be fiscally responsible, but that's also looking in the future, so if we do something that's a lower bid, and that's not what's best, then later we have to pay to fix the things, so we make sure our best interests are in mind, and not
Best
necessarily with
interest
the
always
lowest
high
bid.
quality, again, it's about money, it's about quality, and it's about the building, putting all those things together. Again, it's, you know, if it's a pre-qualified contractor, and we've been through the process and we've vet them, chances are the low guy is getting the work. But if there's something else to think about in that equation, like we talked, if there's a contractor that's low, and he's right there and maybe not low, and we can talk about, does it make sense to spend, fill in a number, I'm not gonna throw one out because there is no threshold that's the right one. But whatever that is, we'll talk about that and make a decision as a group, again, as long as the budget fits it.
It is a good point that we don't have to take the low bid anymore. In the old days, we did. Again, we sit and look at those bids, and if there's a bidder that, subcontractor that something's wrong, right? You don't have to take that low bid.
One thing that really comes up in this vetting process, we're gonna put a pre-qualification list together. That's gonna take months and months to put together. And then we go to a bid event. Well, you know, as well as anything can happen in 3 months, 2 months, 6 months. So a guy who may have been a great fit and gives us a low number, picks up 2 other jobs in the process. So when we're going to award, we're saying, hey, he's pre-qualified, he's a great contractor, I'd love to have him. He's got 100 employees, and I know he's gonna need 30 here and 40 there, and whatever little stuff, is he gonna have enough guys to meet it and meet our schedule as well? So that may be an instance where we say he's a great contractor, we want him, but we might go to 2 instead because he doesn't have the workload of the other. So these are all things that it's a really evolving puzzle that go into putting these right contractors together.
And we know the vocational school is gonna be doing a massive build. So, you know, we're 100 million essentially in our district. It's double that plus at EHOBE. Now, what Matt covered is they're doing a lot of smaller projects to make EHOBE what it's going to be. So it's like we're competing against EHOBE. We want them to do well. We obviously, that's our kids who go there. But you're saying, are you drawing from those masons that I've already, you know, slotted to work at EHOBE? So like we have this competition to build, but the beauty is he's pulling from the Cleveland market. He's got the Toledo market. We can even dim down to Mansfield. So like we're actually in a good central location to draw from a lot of quality individuals. Our tough exercise right now is we have a 225,000 square feet. So we're having to say, where's that square footage? Where does that go to? And that's always our toughest exercise right now, because I'm looking at a teacher there like, she wants a bigger this. Well, there needs to be a bigger sensory room here and a bigger music. So like big, 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 not everyone's like big is the answer, right? So you have to say, what is that? How big should the gym be? How big should the auxiliary gym? So like, that's the equation, the problem we have right now. It's not a problem, but that's the exercise we have to get down because we know what we funded. And thank you all, because we funded more than what we were gonna be with the state alone. Like, what did we pay for? We said terrazzo flooring in that entrance area means something. We're gonna have terrazzo flooring like this. We're gonna have standing seat. We're gonna have metal roofs. We said that's important. We paid for that as extra. What's the big chunk that we paid extra? It's additional square footage, because otherwise it was gonna be too small. And we're trying to look for growth as well and flexible spaces. So that's what you all, if you did say yes, that's what you said yes to, is giving more square footage. And I can tell you, we're always walking that fine line to how big is music, how big is the stage, how big is 2 different cafeterias that come from 1 kitchen. That's the concern that we have right now. That's the fun puzzle.
Let me build on that a little bit. I have to give a shout out to the district and to Garmin Miller. I was not involved during the pre-planning. But the challenge that Brad mentioned is always a challenge in every project. It's not as challenging as I've experienced in some of the districts, because your district, your administrative team, your board, Garmin Miller, did a really great job of pre-planning and doing that planning phase and going out then to the community for what really you needed to make this building function well. So it is a challenge. He's right. It's always a challenge, but really, you guys did a great job in planning this.
So having those features, you go to buildings that have, come in and see that terrazzo, have metal versus asphalt in the school, like, all you're doing is just turning over the roofing. Like, you go asphalt, it looks fine for a bit, just like our homes, and then it doesn't. You look at this, like I said, this building, exterior wise, it's still beautiful. We're all proud to drive by and say, the new high school, yeah, kids came in 2001. Think about that. Think about that. We went, some of our tours, we went to elementary schools, we're like, you knew it was elementary. It was bright colors on the exterior. It was like, wow. Is that wow 10 years from now? That's the question we have. Because our team, and they've heard from us, the team is, we want to match exterior and be somewhat of this look that stands the test of time. But when you walk in the building, it won't feel like this because you're going to have very distinctive entrance and you're going to have three different schools within this massive building. And you're going to feel the difference based on age. So you want your younger kids, your intermediate, you're going to see some crazy colors that aren't just stick with blue and gold, right? We're not just blue and gold, truck rides only, everything. It's going to look elementary-like. You're going to feel those differences in each of those three different kind of spaces that we create based on what we think is smart academically and social development-wise with kids being together. We want to have a PKK, kind of that age group as far as the playground. I said a larger one for our other group. And then obviously we're looking at would a courtyard make sense to potentially be off for our middle school kids that maybe don't have recess, that they can get outside and have lunch, and that's adjacent to. So some of those nice features that we're looking to do, but besides the 225,000 square foot puzzle, we also have a budget of all things like, because when we were meeting with Matt and talking some of those things, I'm like, I don't know, to put controls on this, or like waterless urinals. Nobody wants it. That was a great idea. Remember years ago, waterless urinals, and they don't work, they stink, and but you save water, and all these things that you're looking at to be green and efficient, sometimes it's not there. It doesn't make sense to do those things, but we don't always know when we're talking to him, is that expensive or not? Because you don't know in some of your decision points, am I making a financial decision or am I making what's best for our building and our kids? Because from a system standpoint, sometimes simpler is better. Sometimes you can have everything automated, but automation, those things don't work, and then what do you have? You got people coming in to fix and do, so those are a lot of decision points. And that was a different meeting for us because we covered many different things, the water system, electric, lighting in the classroom too. You want lighting to adjust, so these lights dim because I have more natural light coming in. So there's always so much candles in this room, it's going to be the same level. But as a teacher, as kids, is that irritating? Is that annoying? Why are these dimming? Well, because we have more natural light coming in the window, so it's the same. Those are decisions you have to make, and there's just a lot to be had in this building. So those are some of the interest points with that. So what else? I said about an hour, so we're getting there. So yeah.
I know that won't be a pool, that would be a question for my daughter, but.
We're looking at the detention out here, so how high can a detention pond be? So we bring the water off there and then put 3 lanes.
So the tennis courts are still over at the middle school, and they're, done, and we have more. So now they're even farther away from 7th and 8th graders who were at least utilizing that for gym class. What's being planned for outdoors for the kids besides the playgrounds according to maybe their level? You're talking about 7th and 8th graders maybe having outside for food. What about for gym sports activities? Are there any fields planned for that area?
So there has to be, there's a minimum. That's where Helena, OFCC, our person Helena Gonzalez could speak to that well. So there's requirements on how much field. So when people said, when we were making and talking to county commission, we need 37 minimum, what did that get to? Well, that's not just the physical footprint of the build and the drives and all those things. It's fields of play. You have 1,700 kids there. So those are already built in. So you have multiple fields right now that are based on that. They're nothing special right now.
Well, that's what I meant, more specific. Will there be a little baseball diamond? Will there be a specified little soccer field or
yes,
any more tennis courts going
They
on?
are drawn into the mix, and the only co-funded part of that is non-irrigated grass. We will have a surface that there's grass. Go play kickball, flag football, tag, whatever. There's green space. So that's what some of those are. We love to put spaces because there's nothing better than serving our kids than having actual things that are going to make a change. So some of those fields will play because your kids are here. You know, we bus kids elsewhere. If someone wants to give me enough money for the middle school property, and we could actually move tennis courts over, and all the people who donated, we're gonna put their names right back up and move tennis courts, like, that could make sense, because what we wanna do is having a more compact district. We need our space, but we need to be compact, because I don't like everyone spread out different locations. So if someone gave us enough money to move tennis courts to another location, I'm expecting money from you with a pool. Your pool money right there. What do we need, 15? 15 million gets it done? To have like a Fremont type facility? Nice.
We're not hitting the lottery.
All right, what else? Yes.
So just on that note, you're talking about those different things. What, during the process, do you see changes coming in, requests for changes, and if so, what process do you use to authorize changes along the way? And is there, is that something that you, I know construction typically is better at estimating and things after the planning is done, so I'm just curious if there's anything that you guys have to.
Well, things change, right? Things happen, nobody's perfect, there's contractors make mistakes, architects make mistakes, owners change things, they add things, so there's a very specific process we go through when things change. We get pricing put together from our contractors, we vet it before we turn it, we sit and review it as a team, the architect and their consultants look at it, the owner's rep looks at it, and then from that process it goes through, there's a system the state of Ohio uses for all of it. It's called OAPS. Nobody else will know what that means, but it's not a great one. But that's what they do. So all that, we establish, as part of the budget, we track all the pots of money very specifically. There's what they call an owner's contingency. Money that's set aside for changes. So they're not going back to the school board to say, hey, we ran out of money or we want to change this. So there's money set aside. There's money set aside in our contract. It's called CM contingency. So it's things that we can do with it, or if we do end up with a scope gap when we're bidding our contractors, that way we can pick that up. It's if we need to accelerate the work, or if we get a great weekend, we've had a rainy stretch or whatever, and we want to say, hey, we're going to authorize some halftime. Again, we talk about it as a group. Does it make sense? So that way we have all these pots, things happen, we maintain it, we control it, we track it, we keep to the penny on those things so that we know where that's at to manage those dollars.
The really good news is that because we are working as a team, the kinds of major change orders that we used to have 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we just don't have that like we used to. Because they're sitting at the table as the design process is going, raising red flags, bringing up concerns, and the architects are responding accordingly. We're reviewing the documents. This collaborative process has really minimized that. Honestly, the biggest source of change orders on many of my projects has been owner requests.
And the other thing you're going to get here, and we've already talked about it a little bit, is soils.
Yeah.
So we know that there's some stabilization or something potentially going to be done. So once you get out of the ground, that's the biggest bulk of what we consider change orders. And then Steve's right. The second biggest one are the owner says, hey, we've thought about it. We see it in play now. Hey, can we move this wall and do this? Or can we add this space? Or can we change it? And again, that doesn't mean they did something wrong. It's just they're learning from the process as well. But again, the dollars have been set aside to handle all of these things, so that in that 100 million that we've talked about, that's all in there. Does she have 100 million to work with?
There's some people that do a lot of money here. I'll tell you. I'm not going to point them out. But
Okay.
I got a pool accounted for, and I got some other sports covered.
All right.
Someone else.
Tennis courts.
There you go.
What else can we get?
We're
Sign them up.
performing arts. We have lots of great things happening. So we got to make that happen too, because obviously it looks like we're performing arts like a magnet school there. So some of you that are leaving there, we have our kids perform this weekend. If you want to see like grades 6 through 8, it is unbelievable. It looks like a high school production. And they've been on the stage practicing. They're going to be showtime 7 o'clock on Saturday and 3 o'clock on Sunday. So if you have a chance, come and see, because you would not know these are grades 6, 7, 8 that are going to be on this stage here this weekend. So, any last questions? Any student questions? Thank you for being here today. I know you're forced to be here, you had to be here, but thank you for being here. All right, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, next, public participation. Each person who wishes to address the board will be asked to give his or her name and address. Remarks should be limited to 3 minutes in length. If after everyone who wishes to do so has had an opportunity to speak, additional comments can be made up to a total amount of time of 30 minutes. All right, treasurer report.
Okay. So first off, we have our September 10th regular meeting minutes. Those were attached. We can look over. The September financial report, and you'll notice in your September report, I added a new report, the OFDC detail report. So that will show you all of the revenues coming in and all of the expenses going out for our project. CT Taylor, OFDC is still working out, getting them approved. Once they're approved, they'll be in there too, and you'll be able to see whatever is in there. Like they said, there's a process to paying them through the OAK system, so it does take a layer of approval before they're actually paid. So that'll be a new report for you going forward. And then the financial forecast, the budget bill changes this. It's no longer the 5-year forecast. It's now the 3 years plus current year forecast. So we're just going to call it the forecast. This was such a good meeting. I really need to be the Debbie Downer on this one because the forecast is not looking good. As Dan said, it's like 90% chance of catastrophe. So, we've been fortunate over the years as things started to get, we have basically what we would call a structural deficit. We haven't had a new money levy since 2015. We were starting to get to where we were looking to do something with reductions, and that's when COVID hit. And the ESSER money came in. So we had over $8 million of ESSER money to offset and get us through. So last year was the end of the ESSER money. And then last year, we also had the property tax increase. And we had additional money from the CEP, the community eligibility provision that gave us extra DIPA money, dissipating people impact. So we surprisingly got some extra money last year. So that was good. So we didn't end up too negative last year, or last year was like that. Well, then we get to this year. All that money's gone. There's no more student wellness money. There's no more ESSER money, and they're looking to take our property tax money. So hopefully, if we could get to this new building, I can see us having some efficiencies through this that will help out. But that's 3 years away. So we need to be able to hang on, look at what we can do for the next couple of years, and just try to hang on because obviously there's not going to be any money coming in. We only have 2 major sources of revenue, which is our property tax and our state fund. So when you look at the forecast on the revenue side, the first part is property taxes, and this is a tough one because the state is going to do something, but we don't know what, and we don't know when. But there's going to be some sort of reduction in what we receive in property tax rate. And they're not going to make us whole. They're not going to reimburse savings rate. So when that happens, we'll have a number to go with, and then we'll be able to adjust it, right? But we don't know what it's going to be. They did override the governor's veto on the emergency levies. That means going forward, when our emergency levy is up for renewal, it will have to be renewed as a current expense levy. That puts it into the 20 mil floor. If there's even a 20 mil floor left in this tax fund. So I don't know. I don't know where we're going to be going forward with property taxes. So basically, I just forecast this out for the same number from, because I don't know. I don't see us having any increase in property tax because of, as I don't think valuations are going to continue to go up, and any new construction is not going to bring any new revenue, so we don't have that going forward. So I just kind of held us with the same number. The same with the tangible personal property. This is a public utility. We don't have anything new going in. We don't have solar. We don't have a pipeline. So I kept this pretty much the same with this. Income tax is paid quarterly. Our first quarter, which came in a little bit less than the last year's quarter, the same by about $8,000 And I'm really worried about income tax. It's very, elastic, is what that term is, because it moves a lot and it moves quickly. Unlike property tax, which normally you don't see move a lot, but income tax does. So I lowered that number a little bit because I'm worried about where that's headed. We can see the job numbers going down. So I lowered that a little bit. And then we come to our state funding. As we know, the budget bill did decrease us by over $300,000 for our state revenue. And they made a change. The CEP program brought in the extra money last year, but then they leaked because the state did not want to do that for districts. They made a change to it for this year. So they reduced us around $400,000 in our DPI money. So you'll see that decrease in there too. And both the DPIA is in the restricted and the regular state foundation is in unrestricted. It also, the unrestricted category also includes our casino money, which is, it holds steady at about $140,000 a year. So, out of $15 million, it doesn't make that much difference, but it's better than nothing. We also have in there, the catastrophic cost reimbursement shows up in there. And that changes depending on how much the state reimburses everyone, but it really tends to be, they take 10% of our special education funding to cover it, so we don't always even break even on that one. The next line is our property tax credits. This is the rollback in the homestead. It doesn't affect us because our emergency levy was passed after 2015, but part of getting rid of emergency levies means that every taxing entity, like the library or a township or whatever, that had a fixed sum, that means it brings in the same amount of money every time, fixed sum levy is not going to get those rollbacks anymore because they're going to have to pass it as a current expense levy. So that's about $92 million that is going to be a shift from the state reimbursing it to all these taxing entities to the public property owner having to pick that up whenever that levy is due in the future. So for all this talk about property tax relief, the state legislature, the one thing that they have done so far is they've shifted that expense back to our property. So that's, I don't know, unintended consequence or what, but we'll see going forward. That number is pretty much holding steady because we don't see much changes in there. You know, this in 2029 I did because that's when the emergency levy was renewed the first half of it. So I took not only the tax revenue out of that, but the homestead credit out of there. And then the bottom part is the all other financing. This is just oddball things that happen. We had a federal grant that was negative year end, so we had to do a advance in and out. So that's the $7,000. And then the $20,000 is just strange things happen sometimes where we get a little extra money and it goes into that category. So that's our revenues. On the expenditure side, of course, our salaries and benefits, schools are people. That's, a new building would be nice, but without people, you don't have a school. That's the most important thing. So that is our largest expense going forward. As I said, we don't have anything to offset. The 467 student bonus that we were paying our guidance counselors out of last year had expended, so that expense is back to the general fund. All of our ESSER is back to the general fund. And we are looking at, in the future, next year, our understanding is we're not going to have Title III, which is what we use for our English language supervisors. We're not going to have that money, and possibly some professional development money out of Title II. Insurance benefits, healthcare costs have been going up quite a bit. The HESI consortium for medical went up 10% this year. We were fortunate that we were able to have an agreement with our certified staff that allowed us to remove that, what would have been 8% penalty this year. So on top of the 10% was an 8% penalty. So it would have been an 18% increase in our health insurance. So even though it went up 10%, good news is it went up 18%. And we did have language that reimbursed our certified staff for their spousal premium, so there's no impact to them, and it has saved us that entire 8%. Going forward, new staff will be on a premium savings option plan, which is still a very good insurance plan, but it's not as expensive as our current bonus plan. And new staff aren't going to notice a difference because they're not ever on that plan. And like I said, compared to the private sector, it's still very good. So that's where you see what I hope will be some savings. down the road with insurance as people change plans and switch to the lower one. The concern there with retirement and insurance benefits is the state teachers retirement system would like to increase the employer contribution that the district has to pay. Right now, employees pay 14% of their salary and the board pays 14% into their retirement. STRS wants to increase the employer contribution. So that's a concern going forward if that increases. But we don't know if or when. It's just something they are trying to get done because they've had some problems with their funding. They're supposed to be vested in a certain percentage and not as very young. And that's how they're looking to make up instead of doing anything else that would affect benefits to the teachers. Purchase services, a lot of the purchase services are out of our control. These are things that college credit plus, what we have to pay, special education costs, tuition costs, different things that we don't have a lot of control over. Expenses, we pay the state, we pay the county auditor for their services. That's all set in law. So there's not a whole lot that can be done really in the purchase service category to reduce a whole lot of cost there. Supplies and materials, this is just like a bus fuel, all of our textbooks for our students, paper, computers, anything you can think of for supplies. That's one area that we're going to be able to try to do some reductions. But we still need it. So there's that. Capital outlay. So we did order a new school bus for this year. You'll remember that bid. I believe it was $154,000 for our new wheelchair-enabled school bus. And as Tim just reminded me, the state highway patrol comes and checks our school buses. They pulled the sticker on 3 of our spare buses. That means that they're not what the state highway patrol deems as roadworthy. Now, if it was our vehicle, it would still be roadworthy, but the school buses are held to a much higher standard. So we now have 3 school buses that have been pulled out of service that we can't use. Fortunately, they're not route buses that we use to take us through home, or we would have a bigger problem. We've been looking at trying to do like a lease purchase agreement where we buy maybe 6 to 8 school buses all at once and then pay for them over time. But we don't have a whole lot of money, so that's kind of a problem. But we may have to do that because we haven't bought a new regular bus for I think 2 years. So that's an issue.
What are we using those buses for? Choice like trips?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or if a bus is going down for some reason or something like that,
It was based on rust, correct, on lower panels.
Yes, that was the main thing they pulled the stickers for this last time.
So not mechanical per se, but they're rusted because we live where we live here. All of our vehicles do it, but buses can't be like the vehicle is when you continue with it.
Right, and then it's something that hopefully going forward, we can see a savings when we have this new building. Hopefully we can have an enclosed bus garage. If we can keep our vehicles out of the weather, that would be so much better. They would have a longer life, you don't have the sun, and like the sun affects your tires more than anything else. So that's part of the efficiency that we're hoping for. We just have to get there.
So it takes 3 buses to be traded in?
Oh, sure, we can trade them in, but they only give you pennies on the dollar for.
A couple $1,000 then.
At best.
Yeah.
And then Anthony's already got one of them partially fixed, about ready for reinspection.
So we can fix maybe
We
some.
can, it's just not.
I don't like to do it, but.
Right. And we've got one that we haven't used for over a year because it's been put out of service and the cost of repairing it is just not
worth it.
We'd be better off charging money to the fairgrounds and having a bus demolition derby day at the end of the day and charging people for that for the value we get out of them.
Right, there's so much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that, sound like it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have anything planned in there, for capital outlay going forward, just because before, when we bought our last school bus, there was a board decision to basically spend your savings account to buy a school bus. And same kind of now, with the wheelchair bus, we needed to have this wheelchair bus because that's something we can't not have. We have to transfer those two. So that's why we had the wheelchair bus and then think about the regular one, but we need to do something somehow. We need to start updating our fleet, and there's no money for new school buses from the state. There is, of course, a $10 million school bus safety grant where they will give districts money to add safety equipment or put safety equipment on new buses, but there's no money to help buy a school bus. And they're very expensive.
Permanent improvement money, we can use those.
Well, not really. The way the permanent improvement language was written on the ballot, it doesn't really, we've never bought school buses out of it because it doesn't really fit the language in the ballot. The ballot language, when it was passed, talked about building improvements, building it. It didn't talk about who you would use it for vehicles. So, kind of a.
And as we get the planning, farther along for the building, we're also probably going to need additional buses anyway, correct? Because we have a lot of children that are in walking distance, that's going to change. So we're gonna have to really consider that also, not to mention that we need buses.
Right, but hopefully with the consolidation into one campus, we're not gonna have the issues with going to all these different school buildings. So, our transfers back and forth and that, so route planning is a lot of fun.
It's about this then. When you send that out to us, yeah.
But maybe it'll be better, with one building is hard, maybe we won't need the extra buses because we'll be all together and be able to use them more efficiently. I mean, we're already on a double routing, so it's not like that's gonna help cut down the number of buses.
It might be something that they're considering when we do talk about selling property. So we want to, make sure we put that back on loan, but we also might need to make sure we have enough for things like this. So.
Definitely for some buses, that would be good. Although I don't know that we're gonna
I mean, we have already taken precautions. We started a year and a half ago getting a contractor to come in and do a rust proofing, and we went to the seminar and they showed us, after other districts that use this process, the difference between a bus that didn't have it and the buses that do have it, and significant difference. So we've started already doing that to some of our newer buses, hopefully to get some longevity out of those. So when we do buy new ones, even though they're going to be our older ones, they're going to be in better shape and easier to maintain at that point. So we've already started that process in hope of saving some money down the road and not having to buy new ones.
Does that undercarriage wash machine really help? Have you noticed a difference helping with the salt?
It does, but the one we have is hard to use because it's outside.
Yeah.
And when you need it the most,
the water's freezing.
Is when it's sub-zero. So
yeah.
It's hard to use then. I mean, early spring, late fall, yes. I mean, we use it to really see how much of a difference it's making. It's tough just because we can't use it during the winter to get the salt off it. And that's the biggest part. So if we had an inside bay to where we could wash those during the winter and get the salt off of them, people to clean or cleaner, then I think you'll see a better resolution that way than just an undercarriage wash that lays outside.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have a big express bus wash. That would be something they made. Maybe we'll get a blue beacon when they finish up the new truck stop. If our buses good. So that's something that we're gonna have to think about in the future. And that might be the way to do it, is that it's purchase so long and for basically one bus a year that we can have new ones, multiple new ones. We're also looking to get some sort of van to help transport our students. Right now, we're the same company, we'll have developmental support. We've been paying them to transport our students to special schools, high school, and unfortunately, they had always been good in that, but I don't know if they're having the same problem with everybody else. They think they don't have enough staffing, but they've been having pounds and very expensive for us. So we are looking to buy a small 9-passenger van. There's some glitches with what's allowed by state law and federal law to transport students in, so I'm working on that to find a van out there so we can transport our students. And of course, we'll need some van drivers. We still need bus drivers. So, anybody would like to be a bus driver?
Van drivers, they have to have the same CDL.
No, they do train a van license, but it's not the same requirement for a CDL requirement.
It's bus driver.
Right, so it's much easier, so if anybody would like to train, we could do that. So we can not do a retirement job.
I got a lot of jobs.
Tomorrow,
Tomorrow, two meetings.
So then finally, on the forecast, the last line is the other objects, and this is another one that we don't have a lot of control over because this is basically our property liability insurance, and using fees that the state charges us. And it gets us down to line 6.01, which is basically where we're at. And unfortunately, it's nothing but red for the next year plus 3 of the 3+1 forecast. Originally, I had us at like 400 some thousand negative. I did receive the first actual state funding for this year, so I was able to update that. And unfortunately, I fixed it to negative 727. We may have an extra Medicaid reimbursement come in because of the way that fell. You know, that'll change it by $150,000, but we are definitely in a pretty hefty deficit this year. And that is not including whatever the state decides to do with property tax. And it's very possible that they may do it for the first collection of the next tax year, which would for us be in February, which falls into this fiscal year, 26. So that would be catastrophe in the It's just, I feel like it's whack-a-mole. You fix one thing, another thing pops up. It's hard to keep at it. And, you know, we don't have the cash balance to carry us through the fire. So we're going to have to be like, really careful, trying to get to this new building in the meantime, seriously reduce our expenses.
So I know we talked about this as we're watching the catastrophe, that maybe we should have some literal only board meetings for financial planning. But I think we need to have a lot more information before we start that. But if the board agrees, I think that's something that we need to do.
Right, so there's a lot of decisions that the board is going to have to make. I mean, we haven't done, they didn't participate in years, we haven't done, you know, school fees, we haven't, a lot of these things, you know, we implemented driver's ed, which is a wonderful program, but very expensive. You know, class sizes, what are we going to do going forward? We've done a lot so far for nutrition, like high school, it's like we replaced a football teacher and a business teacher. We're down one at the elementary level because class sizes are down. But on the other hand, we've also had to increase our aides because our student special education student population has increased and your school numbers have changed where you have to have more adults than, you know, with your student ratio, so we've had to increase that. So, you know, and these are all going to be board decisions about what you want to look like going forward. So.
We've made plenty of smart personnel decisions and where we could, without anybody in our school feeling the effects of that. Because you start making ones where you're cutting into, then you start talking programs, which then none of us want to talk about because that hurts kids. But through retirements and number, because all school districts are losing kids, so we're slightly going down in our enrollment. So that's some of our classrooms where we go from a 9 to an 8. We can, and makes sense, it worked that way, and we shuffle people around. But when you start talking, you can do programs and smaller things, but yeah, the expenses and people.
So that is the forecast. I wish I had better news for you, but I don't. And be prepared because it's going to get worse. Because our state legislature is looking to reduce property tax. Not just for schools, but also for businesses. It's coming. I just don't know when it's coming.
George, the budget deficit seems to grow between 27 and 28. Pretty significant.
Yes.
Is there a reason for that, or what are you forecasting?
Because our expenses are growing, but I'm not increasing our revenue because I don't know where we're going to be.
So you don't, I mean, in reality, the
It's not likely to be that.
No, it probably is, because our revenue is not going to increase. We know, like, the majority of our revenue comes from the state. That's not going to get better. They're not going to give us more. And property taxes are not giving. So I know revenues are not giving.
Sure.
And that's the big part. I do know expenses are going to. I mean, utilities are going to go up, salaries are going to go up, health insurance is going up. I mean, we were so fortunate that we were able to get the language making changes to healthcare, or it would have been much worse. Because the penalty, the 8% on top of the 10% is just, you couldn't have done. But yeah, so no, that is very much what it's gonna be. The 29, the jump in 29 is because you're missing half the property tax collection. They did not. And actually, it's not SDRs, it's the, there's a retirement council set up by the state that oversees the different retirement systems. You might have noticed in the budget bill that they made changes to SDRS's governance, the way their board is, and that was the only retirement system. There's 6 different retirement systems in the state that are public employees. SDRS was the only one that was singled out in the budget bill for changes, and it is, I'm not sure if it was the teachers union or somebody has to put it on hold, the governance changes, because the budget bill it's supposed to be single subject, it's supposed to do with money. The SRS changes have nothing to do with money. I think it's the Ohio Retirement Council that oversees the three legislatures and they oversee the different pensions, and they're the ones that are pushing for that. Not so much, I think they're probably pushing SRS that way because SRS doesn't have any type of, benefit reductions or so they want their, funding percentage to be less unfunded liability. I hate to be the bearer of it. This has stepped all the figures about the building. We just have to get there. They're going to see that we're going to have a lot of efficiencies. I mean, yes, there are going to be expensive, right? Utilities are going to be more expensive than the air conditioning. But just getting to one building and staffing and not having separate buildings, and things to be a lot. Even like in some let's see that would be something better. But we can't be as efficient as we should be with our substitutes just because of the way we lost our house.
Which do we pay like
Right? Yeah. So our specialists, which are usually Jim, have to travel around the building. And it's not even so much as we're paying them, I was happy with that, it's far, so it's not, it's the time, right? The time they spend driving building to building to building.
Yeah, we lose instruction time.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make them up 15, 20 minutes twice a day. That adds up over the school year.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we need to go now.
Yes, as soon as we buy. So I did, update all of these.
Oh, no,
But I
it's
gotta
not.
say that kind of money.
No, absolutely not. I think that you say it's bad news, but it's what we're doing. So it's not mechanism that we need to know, and like you said, it's going to help. But we are gonna have to make the hard decisions, and, we can't run to this deficit, or we won't be open at all. So we're going to have to really look at it. And like Brad said, they've done a great job when things have come up, or the retirements have come up. They're making those decisions now. I just unfortunately think that this is gonna go faster with all the changes that are happening at the state than what that allows to. So, I mean, I didn't want to lose literacy coordinators, that was, I saw the impact that had, and so, yeah, it's just difficult, but we do the best we can with what we have.
Right. So we'll just have to look at what we're gonna do. Because we have to do this. We're gonna have to take them. But it's been, it has been good. We've been able to do this with attrition without the staff feeling in pain.
Right. Anything else you want to change?
No, I'm
Very good.
yeah, just a bit of things.
No, sorry. We have here. Is there a motion to approve items 4.1 through 4.3 on the treasury reports?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Personnel.
Yes, two different types of leaves. The first one is Aurelie Villalobos Ramos. She actually sent an email to me stating she was resigning. And then we said, you don't need to resign. We want you back. We potentially can have you back. So ORC allows her to come back. It states their military leave for non-teaching employees. So with that, she pulled the resignation, and this is the route we're going. So she's great. She's in our EL department. We want her back, but obviously it's a great move that she's making from a career path standpoint. So it's good for her, and if it's possible, we'll definitely have her back. 5.2, another type of leave, STRS disability leave. Jamie Brooker, here too, strong teacher. She's been at Main Street for a long time. Colleagues here in the room. Great teacher. Her actually son is one of the stars this weekend that will be performing on stage. So Jamie's great, and we hope that health can kind of take care of that, and some good things will happen on that front, and we can have her back. So that's the period of time in which she has that she is guaranteed to be coming back and teaching with our kids, because we definitely want her back, and she feels the same as well. 5.3, exciting, we have a new custodian here in Mauro Roblero Munoz. He was just hired recently, interviewed, and both Corey and Tim were very impressed by him. So he's going to be starting there September 30th. That was his effective date. Resignation, we had actually approved John Wade late spring when he came with a package that Josh Slaughter had submitted for both fall and winter coaches. So he is going to have to resign. He's dealing with some things. So great person, and he'll obviously be around the scene, but he will not be our bowling coach. 5.5, Melanie Zerman. So she actually runs point for the study tables at Norwalk High School. So when the names were submitted, it's all the people doing the work, and then the person who actually keeps the book work, which is Melanie Zerman. Her name wasn't on that list. So that's why Melanie Zerman is now on this 5.5 to be hired tonight. 5.6 are supplemental contracts. So those are current employees that are filling supplemental jobs, be it advisor positions and or coaching. And then you have the list for Norwalk Middle School as well. Pupil activity contracts in Norwalk High School. These are ones that are not employed by Norwalk City School District. Lay coaches of Drew Birch and John Coy. And then the middle school listing there as well. So some names that you've seen in the past. Excited to have some of those individuals back that have worked with our kids in the past. Of note is, Stephanie Osborne, who is back and helping our kids, and she's very strong in that area. So we're very excited for that group to be back and helping our middle school students. 5.8, employment of substitutes for the 25-26 school year. So we have the list there of certified as well as one classified. 5.9 is a listing of volunteers that will be working with our kids. And then coach at the middle school wrestling and Trenton Goose Creek. So that is all I have for personnel.
A motion to approve items 5.1 through 5.9 of the personnel. Second? Any discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Superintendent's report.
6.1, Ohio Department of Education Workforce Special Education Model Policy and Procedure. So you have the attachment. That's standard fare, so that needs to be adopted by the school board. 6.2 is a pooling agreement with Monroeville local schools to provide Title I equitable services at St. Joe's in Monroeville for Norwalk resident students. And then 6.3 also attached is the many different board policies that need to be updated as provided by Dan Louder with Pebble and Wagner. So those are hitting statutes that need to be adopted. So those are sticking to the script of those that all the schools in which he serves, those need to apply.
Okay, motion to approve items 6.1 through 6.3 under superintendent report.
So moved.
Second? Discussion? Do any of these policies change what's in our handbook? So I see that there's code of student conduct, absences, do any of those affect our
There are a couple things that we're having to update on the online, because that's obviously board approved, so it's a board approved document. So some of those are being checked to make sure that we're not having to make an online switch. And the primary one is student discipline. Yeah. If you have a question on 6.2, I'm gonna look to my left. So if anyone has questions on 6.2, I'm gonna look to my left because he has worked on that part.
Yeah, that's what Title I, we have, I believe, a couple students that are attending Monroe St. Joe's. And Monroeville is going to provide the Title I teacher. So the other districts that have students here will put their money together. Since we, for what we have for our 2 students, we can't send our Title teacher there to provide the service. So we're pulling that money to pay the Monroeville to provide the service. Pretty common. I mean, we see a lot of small, broken schools, especially with very few students that have been there, but we still have to provide the service.
The only question I have is I have been getting a few messages from other districts, from board members, asking how our district handled the yonder pouches and how now that I feel like other people are putting things in place when we were early, which I think was a good thing. Do you think Mr. Kenya has any data? I know he's a data-driven person to show the benefits that we've seen over the last, year
He
and a
has
half.
submitted that in some of his newsletters already.
Okay.
And he tied a lot to discipline, and that has decreased because of it. So you're not having the back and forth with kids of I'm in a classroom and that real time is happening. So is that a direct correlation? Is it called like some things you can look and say, what are the things that we have changed? And that is a key thing that we have changed. So I think you can probably make some direct correlation as to why some of those disciplinary things have gone down. We have someone who runs point there in the front office, so I would say a lot of those things have helped. He would be more than happy to share that with other people that are asking those questions, because you're right, we were early adopters. Other school districts have done it, not a lot in this area because there's an upfront cost, but I think he would argue the benefits there for what we have expense on it.
No, it's great. I think all of us, mostly we have kids in the high school too, that have seen true benefit in it. And it wasn't as painful as everyone thought it was going to be, or some other things like.
I do have to pay for replacement.
You did? Well, sorry about that, Eric. Any other discussion? Can I hear you call for a motion to? All right. Is there a motion to
Oh,
approve?
no, I'm sorry, you did.
I did, all right.
You did.
You know what? Put it on your face.
Mr.
All right.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett,
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Wickenfeller.
Yes.
All right, so we'll put them on board items, we're making a change to the treasurer contract, addendum, and attach the choices, treasurer contract to increase the days. Is there a motion to approve item 7.1?
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Roll call please.
Mr. Wickenfeller.
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett. Yes. Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Executive session. Is there a motion to approve to move into executive session under Ohio Revised Code 121.22 and, well, I guess it was twice. So I'm not gonna read all
One to
that.
G2 and one to G4. It's
Okay.
your purpose. You can always go into executive for 5 years.
Okay. Motion to approve. To move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call please.
Mr. Wickenfeller.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Burkett. Yes. Mrs. Crawford.
Yes. 28. And there should not be any, why do it every time? I feel like we're all doing it. There should not be any action afterward. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.